In response to the series about insulin resistance, I receive this question quite often. How do I know if I am insulin resistant? There are a few very helpful tests. For example, if you've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, 99% of the time this is due to extreme insulin resistance. The other diagnosis paired with insulin resistance is pre-diabetes. Essentially, you have all of the signs of diabetes, but it is not severe enough to be diagnosed as diabetes. So they call it pre-diabetes. Probably the easiest and cheapest thing to do is look at your risk factors. If you are overweight or obese, you are more likely to be insulin resistant. If you have a family history of diabetes mellitus, you are more likely to be insulin resistant. If you were recently pregnant and you were diagnosed with gestational diabetes, you may still have a degree of insulin resistance. Additionally, certain ethnic groups have a higher risk of being insulin resistant. In addition, your ethnicity will dictate your risk of developing type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance even at the same body weight. It appears that those of South Asian descent develop insulin resistance at a far lower body weight than their Caucasian counterparts. This is likely due to their fat distribution, in which they store more fat around their organs, which increases their susceptibility to increases in insulin resistance. Other risk factors include hypertension, physical inactivity, altered lipid profiles including your HDL, LDL, and triglycerides, as well as polycystic ovarian syndrome. When it comes to blood work, there are a few interesting tests. C-peptide is a protein that is released from the beta cell at the exact same time as insulin. However, C-peptide has a considerably longer half-life than blood insulin, meaning it may be an even easier and better indicator of how much insulin you are producing throughout the day. The higher your insulin production, the more likely you are to be developing insulin resistance. And your pancreas is making up for the fact that you are insulin resistant by producing more insulin. And a high C-peptide level does appear to be associated with diabetes and prediabetes. Fasting insulin is another great predictor of insulin resistance. So does a 12-hour fasting blood glucose. The higher your fasted blood glucose and blood insulin is an indication that your insulin sensitivity is worse. The next option we have is an oral glucose tolerance test. Essentially, you drink a glucose solution and see how long it takes to get your blood glucose back down to normal. Diabetics will see a drastically increased blood glucose for a very long time, whereas those with good insulin sensitivity will be able to regulate their blood glucose quite rapidly. The last test I'll mention is a glycated hemoglobin, which is a measurement of your average blood glucose over the past 90 days. The more insulin resistant you are, the higher your average blood glucose, therefore the higher your HbA1c will be. With that being said, if on average you are healthy and active, you more than likely do not need to worry about insulin resistance. However, if you are on the spectrum of being overweight and you are physically inactive, and understanding if you are becoming insulin resistant may motivate you to make lifestyle decisions to fix this issue, then these tests might be the best place to start. With that being said, if you would like an individualized approach to your nutrition and lifestyle to optimize your health, energy, and body composition, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.